Welcome to This Week in Metropolis. The transmission will begin shortly.
King P here.
And Steelio7, welcome to another episode of This Week in Metropolis.
Today, as always, we're going to be talking about some things that have caught our eye this week in the news. What have you seen?
Well, one of the first things I saw, I think it was on maybe Monday or Tuesday, I saw it this week, an article relating to the next potential James Bond, which obviously is a topic that crops up quite often these days. And one of the latest rumours is Chris Hemsworth, obviously with all the plug-in, the plug-in of the new Avengers. Someone mentioned to him about it, and I think he was in a. I haven't seen it. Was it Rush? Maybe. I think he
was that the one where he played the racing driver?
Yes. No, that was.
No.
That was a biopic, wasn't it? Based on someone, I thought. But there was one where I don't know.
James Hunt. Wasn't that Rush?
I'm not sure. Maybe I've got it wrong, but I think that they were linking it to a recent film that he's done. Me personally, I can't see Chris Hemsworth as a James Bond. But wanted to get your thoughts on who you thought would be a good shout for the Bond, if and when they decide to replace Daniel Craig.
Yeah, because I think am I right in thinking Daniel Craig said he weren't going to do any more, and then they convinced him, I think, to do one more.
Yeah, as far as I was aware, yeah. Yeah,
so it is rumoured. Just looking up, Rush was what I was thinking about in the bio here. In the mid 1970s, charismatic English playboy James Hunt, played by Chris Hemsworth, and Austrian perfectionist Niki Lauda. It's about their rivalry and so really good film if you haven't seen it. As far as I'm aware, Daniel Craig is finished out. I think he said, I can't remember, didn't he describe it as one of the worst experiences of his life or something like that? It was a really dramatic description. I think, to be honest with it, you've had so many diverse Bonds. You start with Sean Connery, and then Roger Moore was a less serious one, and Timothy Dalton for a little while, and what's his name? The one after it. All I could think of was Piers Morgan. It's really not Piers Morgan, is it? Who was in Tomorrow Never Dies? Pierce Brosnan. That's it. So you've had quite a mix of Bonds, haven't you? But I think I'd like to see someone like who is it that plays Loki?
I was thinking exactly the same. Tom Hiddleston, is it?
Yeah, so someone like that, Tom Hiddleston, I think would be perfect because he's very British, isn't he? But he's still got that edge to him. Yeah. That would make it, because the Bonds seem to go a little bit darker each time, don't they? He could still bring that slightly bad boy thing to it. Yeah,
definitely. And I think he do was it like a drama or something, maybe on BBC last year, maybe, that really stood out, and I think that's what gained a lot of attention for him potentially taking up that role.
Yeah.
And the same can be said, I think, his name it certainly escapes me, and I'm pretty sure you didn't watch any of them, but the lead actor from Bodyguard, which was obviously the back end of last year, which was highly praised. I saw clips of it, didn't watch it in full, but he was another name that I saw mentioned. I just wonder whether it might be a bit too soon for someone like him, but could be potentially a bit of an outside bet.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that sometimes works well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With that, if you're getting someone coming out who's
a bit of an unknown.
Yeah, that's it. Who can make their mark on the franchise? Because otherwise, I think it works the other way as well, doesn't it? If you get someone who's really well known coming into a massive role like that, you have a certain expectation, don't you, with it?
Exactly, and Daniel Craig certainly wasn't. I mean, to me, I
No.
hadn't seen a great deal of his work before he took up the latest Bond role. So
He was in the only thing I knew him in beforehand was Layer Cake, I think.
yes,
Do you remember that?
yeah, remember that, yeah.
So yeah, they're just.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, just let you know, the actor is called Richard Madden.
that's it, Richard Madden.
He's the guy at The Bodyguard.
Yeah, Scottish guy. Yeah, that'd be different as well. Going back to the or when I say different, going back to the bit of a Scottish connection to the role, which obviously has happened previously. Any from you, Matt? I mean, I would completely rule out Chris Hemsworth just because of I don't know, suitability for the role. I mean, he's got, to me, he'd be more suitable to just with his physique and things like that, more of an action role rather than a spy role. I'm not sure if the Australian accent would pass on a Bond role either. But
no, I'm sure we could do a fairly convincing English one, couldn't he? But I think his strengths as an actor. I think he's good in an action sense. Again, he's proved that in some of the Marvel films, but also I think in the Marvel films, some of Thor, particularly Ragnarok, he's comedy, and if I don't know whether you've seen him in the remake of Ghostbusters, the female cast. The role he plays is this sort of dopey assistant, and he's hilarious, absolutely hilarious in it.
He did get rave reviews for that from everyone I know. I haven't seen it, but everyone I know has always mentions how good he was in that role. Yeah,
he is absolutely brilliant, and he's not got. I guess he's got a fairly major part in it, but it's just you see something, you think, oh, he's nailed that.
Idris Elba was another name that was linked at one point. I know you're a big fan of his.
I am, but again, I think Idris Elba maybe have been picked just because he's cool, isn't he? Yeah. He's a bit of the man in the moment. But I think equally he's a bit no disrespect to him as an actor. He's very, very good as an actor, but I think he's I don't know. He's good at certain things. Maybe that's me, being my limited knowledge of him. I've not watched Luther. I've seen bits of Luther, and he plays a good sort of, broken detective and so on. But I think a lot of his roles, particularly where he's going in the sort of Fast and Furious franchise, Hobbs and Shaw, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, he's quite a good sort of physical actor and. He's following that sort of path.
Yeah, and he plays
The Rock.
Yeah, he plays the bad guy really well, I think, as well. Yeah. I think from the scenes that I've seen for the new Hobbs and Shaw film, he looks very good in that role as a villain. And if they wanted to use him in that way in Bond, I don't think that would be a bad shout.
No, definitely, it would. But have they started? Because the new Daniel Craig one is coming out soon, I think, isn't it? It's got a really, really silly name, and I can't think what.
Isn't it something like Diamond Glove or something like that? I want to say. I feel like it's something like that.
No, that's a terrible name.
I maybe. I think I could be wrong. I'm sure it was something like that.
Let's have a look. Right. Danny Boyle was directing it, but apparently he's left. It was due to premiere in October 2019. Let's see what it's meant to be called. Shatterhand. Right, there we go. So
I'd go with Diamond Glove.
Diamond Glove's a better option, isn't it? Shatterhand. That's terrible, isn't it?
Glove and hand. I was close enough.
Yeah. So there we go. So who knows when it will? We're not showing cinemas late 2020. So yeah, you've got quite a while to wait for that one, haven't we? But well,
I guess the work goes into him so early now.
Yeah, that's it. And the weird thing I think about films is I don't know. Again, me being a novice in making films, but if you think, we both really enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody. That had a director for part of it. He got kicked out, I think I'm correct in saying, and then they had Dexter Fletcher finish it off, because Bryan Singer was doing it before. And you've had films, I can't remember the name of the film, but there's one with Kevin Spacey in it, and then the sort of scandal came out about him, and they edited him, I think, him completely out of the film. There's so much flexibility now, isn't there, in terms of making films?
Yeah, definitely. It's even like when you think Guardians, the new Volume 3, when that was first being written by James Gunn, then he obviously got removed from the position. I think I can't think off the top of my head who was going to start looking into that and picking up from. I don't know whether they were just going to pick up from where he left off.
Yeah.
And now he's back, obviously, so he can just carry on again. But
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cinema related, I think it's probably quite a good time to move to what I saw this week. How much would you say, just posing this to you before I talk about it, if you had the opportunity to watch a film that is at the cinema, so imagine a film is released, you can go and see it in the cinema, or you can go and see it at home but pay a premium for it, how much would you be prepared to pay, do you think, for that? And would you like that idea of having that option?
Interesting. How much would I pay? Well, the thing is, obviously with certain platforms, Sky, Virgin, all of them, they offer a pay-on-demand service, certainly when films are released onto digital copies. So, and they tend to be, 10 to 15, depending on, I guess, DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think cinemas now, I think, am I right in thinking I think Odeon or View have now, one or the other, are now trying to compete by bringing their prices right back down. I think they're now only going back down to like £5 a ticket. Could be in that sort of region. Yeah,
and they usually have sort of a lower price showing or an option, don't they?
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
But you think IMAX is nearer 25 or something? Well, it's a huge amount of money.
Certainly, yeah. So, I mean, if you think that's what they're charging in the cinema, I mean, I love the whole experience of going to the cinema. So for me personally, if the film, we talk about Avengers coming out, that's one that I will go to see. And the whole quality of seeing it in IMAX, the size of the screen, and feeling like you're in the moment, if that makes sense.
The sound, and you're just sort of engulfed in it, aren't you?
And being in a theatre with hundreds of people watching that film and experiencing it all together and seeing different emotions and everyone being gripped by it, I think is different. When you're at home, if you get hungry, you can go downstairs and grab something to eat or make a cup of tea or whatever, grab a drink. So your attention to it can be broken a lot easier, I think, when you're at home. You might have distractions indoors, kids running about. So I think I'd still much prefer to go. If it was a film that I'm interested in, but do I want to take an evening out of the week to go and see it, then maybe. But I think for them big films, there's still nothing compared to going to the cinema. What did you think?
Exactly. For me, I think personally, it's a direction that I think that at some point, really, the film industry will need to go into, because if you think of, I guess music's probably the closest comparison in the way that it's changed. That you used to, well, no, actually, two examples. Music in the immediacy that you now have, that I know you read about an album, it's on Spotify, you can get it straight away, and there tends to be less release dates and more of, I've got a new album out and it's out immediately. But also things like Netflix and even iPlayer, I think, do it now, when they just drop a whole series and there's less waiting for that next episode. You've got it all at once. So I think the mindset has changed with people, and it would be for you or I are going to want to go to the cinema, and there's always going to be someone who prefers to sit at home and watch it.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't film, but so the studios and the companies should provide that. The reason I ask, and it's sort of a slightly high end scale, is there's a company called Red Carpet Films, and what they're proposing is they're going to offer you a box to have in your house, and they've arranged lots of deals with different studios such as Warner Brothers, Paramount, Disney, all the big names, which will allow people to rent a film, and they will have 2 viewings within a 36-hour period. So it connects, I think, directly to the box. So it is almost like a streaming thing that they can connect to whatever home system they have set up, which sounds like a great idea. The angle that this particular company taking, though, is very much the rich customers. What you would have to do, you'd have to buy a 15 grand box.
Wow.
To connect to your system, and you would also have to pay between $1,500 and $3,000 to actually rent the film. So
crazy money.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount of money.
What? Rather than going to the cinema to see a film for a $5.
So not only that, though, is before you can even rent the film, you have to have a minimum credit card limit of $50,000 as well. But as you said, why would you? Even if you've got millions or billions, to me it still seems like a bit of an indulgence. I know many people that have a lot of money may have a cinema room or something like that at home, but I guess it maybe privacy's an issue or whatever, and they want to relax. But it's it's a huge amount of money. But how they're looking at it, though, is because they're charging so much, they don't actually need a huge amount of customers. So what they've calculated is if they can have less than 4,000 customers, and if they had 4,000 customers, they would still have 300 million in annual revenue. So highly profitable. Yeah. If they can convince people to do it, though.
Well,
I think that's the key, isn't it? With that.
That would be, I mean, just the idea of paying that sort of money for that is certainly a benefit I can probably live without.
Well, exactly. I remember when, 5-6 years ago, maybe more, when I think it was on Xbox Live, Xbox started offering film rentals on there that you could, you'd get, I can't remember, I think you downloaded rather than sort of streamed at that time. And I think that was about, $5.99, let's say, and you had it for about a 24-hour period. And that seemed quite indulgent, to be honest, at the time. Thinking, wow, that's... I've got to watch it at least twice within that 24-hour period just to think that I'm getting my money's worth. But I don't think there's any film that would come out that I would think, right, I'm going to pay £3,000 to see this because I've got to see it at home.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, madness.
Well, funny you're talking about home cinema and things like that. My next topic is actually could be linked to that, in the fact that if you did want a home cinema, Sony this week have revealed that they're going to be releasing, this probably won't be for sale, I'm guessing straight away, but a 16K screen.
God.
Which will go on show in Japan soon. No specific date has been set, I don't believe. 16K. I mean, bear in mind, we haven't actually got 8K yet.
Yeah, and you probably haven't got anything to play that's even in 8K.
Exactly, yeah.
You've probably got a nice 10-second video of mountains or something like that you could look at. Good God.
Yeah, well, the screen, just put this into perspective as well, that they're installing into, they've referred to it as a new research centre. is 63 foot by 17 foot. That's crazy. I mean, again,
Practical.
put a price on that, but 16K. And what was the line they used? Sony describes the giant 16K display as acting like a window to the world. Now, there's a picture of it. I mean, it looks incredible, but
Yeah.
My question to you, Matt, is: I mean, we talk about tech quite a bit when we not doing the show and that, and how far can this go? Because we discussed VR last week, VR headsets and things like that, but 16K. I mean, we talk about mobile phones and how far they've come, but TVs as well. I mean, we've discussed. I'm actually really hoping I will get a new TV at some point this year.
Yeah.
And that will certainly be nowhere near to that. But 16K, incredible.
Amazing, isn't it? But I think that's it. For me, the biggest transition was, going from standard definition to high definition. You couldn't easily see the benefit from those two. And as the HD channels started coming out and that, it was a no-brainer watching things in HD because the sound was better as well. It was just overall, you're getting a much better sort of form of entertainment. But to be honest, I know I've got a 4K TV, and watching something in 4K is great, and if you can, it's brilliant. But I, even at that point, I don't think it's enough to think. You're not going to be watching it in HD and think, "Oh God, I'm getting a raw deal here. I wish this was in 4K."
Yeah.
And also, I'm sure I'm right in saying this, that it gets to a point in that your eyes can't see any different. I'm sure it is. I think
we discussed that before. I remember having that chat with you.
And I'm sure it's something. I'm sure I first heard that with Apple products and the Retina screens. Yeah. And I'm sure that the Retina screens showed a resolution that was actually higher than the eyes can see. I may be completely wrong with that, but I'm sure that it's something along those lines. Yeah. So, is it the fact that you're just going to get it's sort of you'll get a perception that it's better, but I don't know.
Well, it won't work for me then because I'm colourblind, so I'm still living in black and white.
Mate, so, just get a what's it, 14-inch portable black and white done.
Yeah, massive screen, all black and white. Oh, great. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned then about sound, and that's something I was just thinking, just completely kind of going off, branching off a little bit, but we see the improvement of TVs and things like that, but I never really hear about kind of the sound, like stereo systems and things like that. Yeah. You might know a lot more than me, but have they improved a great deal since 10, 20 years ago? I mean, I can't think of, other than DAB, which is purely just down on quality of radio, but actual sound quality of things. Are there now? Has technology moved with sound as much as it has with screen?
I to be honest, I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
But I know there are things such as sort of surround sound and those sort of elements. You can get is it 7.1 surround now? So that would be the you'd have sort of the speaker at the front for speech, and then two each side, and then, and I'll do my quick maths now. Two each side, two central, sort of in line to you, two behind, and then the plus one is a sub. And I think you can even do plus two, so now you have two subs, so 7.2. So there are advances in terms of the amount of speakers and the way the sound is divided up. So you would be able to sit there and the speech would be coming out sort of from in front of you, and then you'd have footsteps behind you, and a bit more like a cinema experience, I guess. And there are a lot more sort of advancements in terms of the processing of audio. So in terms of the digital sounding much better now.
I'm sure I'm sure I've told you this story before, but just a quick one. But I remember being probably going back 20 years now, and a friend of the family, he was right into getting all the latest gadgets and any sort of tech, whether it be TVs, sound systems, anything like that. And I remember he had this surround sound, and we went round and he wanted to show it off. And he had a huge screen then, but obviously it wasn't a flat screen or anything.
Yeah.
Had the big.
It was as deep as it was wide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we watched Terminator 2: Judgment Day, and that opening scene where you're listening to Sarah Connor talking.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the robot stamps down on a skull.
On the skull.
And
Amazing.
we literally jumped out of our skin because like you say, the sound comes from behind. But that was going back 20 years ago, and that blew my mind then. So I'd need to probably go into a Curry's or something like that to sit down in one of their rooms where they have all the speakers out, so you can experience it again.
You saying that story, it reminded me of an even older story, which you probably won't remember. Before, and I remember it being quite a big thing having a TV that had stereo. That was beforehand. You just had a little speaker at the side, sort of thing, to the right of the screen or to the left of the screen or whatever. And I remember. Do you remember the program Tomorrow's World?
Yes.
Yeah. So one day on Tomorrow's World, I remember being around a mate's house and we did it. It was a broadcast to demonstrate stereo sound from your TV. But because a lot of people didn't have stereo sound on there, like a TV that could do it, they broadcast on, I think it was probably Radio 1 at the same time. So you could switch your stereo on, which had stereo, as such, your music player, and have that to listen to the sound, but then watch the picture on the telly, so that anyone that didn't have a stereo telly could get the stereo sound. And
did it blow your mind?
Yeah, it did. It sounded so cool. But talking about that now, and I'm probably going back, I don't know, 30 years maybe. Talking about that now, it just seems like madness. Why didn't you have it? And equally, I remember buying a computer and having to get a sound card separately. A computer didn't have sound on it. Again, that sounds like absolute madness, but that was just... And
here we are in today recording a podcast over...
Exactly, in two different locations.
Exactly.
Insane. So, I guess you've answered your own question in the sense of, sound has improved a huge amount. And, I guess the quality in the speakers and so on that you get in TVs now are worlds apart from what they were before.
Well, and we know that technology is always 2 or 3 steps ahead.
Yeah.
They're talking about whatever technology that's coming out tomorrow. Well, they're already designing the ones coming out after that and probably the one after that. So it's just a matter of watch this space and see where it goes.
Definitely. And which brings us quite nice. Well, this isn't. This is more of a fun story, but it's very much technology related. So you've been in a situation, probably done it today. You've plugged something into your computer via USB, and when you've finished with it, you have to go through the little process of going to the bottom and sort of ejecting the USB drive and waiting for the display to come up and say it's okay to remove it. You're with me on that?
I'm with you. I always used to think, do I really need to do this? And I'll just take it out sometimes, but yeah.
Well, and that's it. You do, don't you? You think, oh, come on, is this really the case? Well, Microsoft this week confirmed that you don't really need to safely remove it. And the reason behind this is because Windows 10 now is much more advanced than sort of operating systems used to be. So I think it was in October that they did an update, and this wasn't anything that was particularly publicised, but it's got the technology now works that if you do take it out, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to do anything wrong. If you're saving a file when you yank it out, you're going to mess up the file, but as long as you're not doing anything with the drive, you can just pull it out.
That was always the fault of, will I lose everything on the USB?
Yeah.
I think back in the day. Again, I think over time, with me taking it out without pressing the eject button, proved that it didn't necessarily corrupt any of the files or whatever. But it's funny that they add them sort of things. But if it was something potentially that, like you say, again with technology, how it's developed, maybe back then it couldn't. It was just a safety mechanism to put in place. Yeah. In case, whereas, like I say, if it doesn't affect it now,
no, that's it. As long as you're not writing files to it and then you pull it out. Apparently, looking again, just to refreshing myself on the article, apparently since Windows 7, it has those sort of protections in it. So there you go. But and I guess as you said, they do keep it on there just as a precaution that they don't, you don't ruin your files and then blame Microsoft for it.
Who's blaming Microsoft though? Come on, go away.
No, exactly. No, I don't think they'd be listening if.
I've lost my Word document.
my poem is ruined.
Oh dear.
No, dearie. Well. That's all of my things covered for today, I think. Yeah.
Well, I've got just a little plug to do. A friend of the show's have now. Well, they've been in the process of writing and designing and drawing their own comic book, which has been released. You and I have both read episode 1.
Yep. Awesome.
We've been waiting for episode 2. It's a comic by the name of The Secret Protectors, so superhero related. I just highly recommend it. I don't want to give too much away. As I say, we're only on issue 2 of that, which has literally been released this week.
Yep.
You'll be able to find it on Kickstarter. So if you go on there and search for The Secret Protectors, sorry, go on, Matt.
No, sorry to interrupt you. Am I right in thinking it's also on a Comixology?
I think it was, but they decided to go down the route of Kickstarter for issue 2, and they have obviously added issue 1 to that as well. Fantastic. Just because it's got a broader audience, I guess. So, and hopefully it can generate more. But I know the guys who Adam and Ben, who wrote and drew all the pictures for it. They've been doing a lot of issue signings and things like that, comic book stores across certainly the south of the UK, out of Greater London, and it's been getting good reviews. So I mean, I certainly enjoyed it. I'll be picking up issue 2 in the near future. But if anyone's listening who wants to check it out, please do.
Definitely, and we will share the links to the Kickstarter on our social sites, which is Twitter and Instagram, and also when we put it on YouTube, this particular episode on YouTube, we'll put it in the comments as well, so you can link to that directly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, check out us on social media. This is This Week in Metropolis, as you mentioned, on Twitter and Instagram.
And also, since the previous episode is now available on 7 different podcast platforms, so certainly whatever one you're listening on now, you have got the options of a load of different ones as well: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and many others too.
Yeah, definitely.
So great. Well, thanks for listening. As always, there'll be a new episode every week around sort of Thursday, Friday time. So make sure you keep up to date with those. And yeah, we will speak to you soon.
Bye for now.
Thank you for listening. Transmission over.